Alrighty, y'all. How you going? We are looking at some time travel today. Well, sort of. We're looking at actual video footage that's been remastered, restored with sound and color in the 1920s. Can you believe the 1920s are 100 years ago? That is craziness. This is a trip through Australia in color. So this is just honestly various clips through actually different parts of Australia. So, I don't know if we're in Sydney, in Melbourne, in the outback somewhere, who knows? I think we're going to be in various places. This is a video from a channel called NASS, N-A-S-S. This will be linked in the description down below so you can check out this whole video uninterrupted and definitely browse their channel. I will only be looking at a couple clips from this, so definitely make sure to click that link to watch this whole thing. Let's just jump into it. Watching old footage like this is really, I guess, the closest thing we can get to, visual time travel. It's very fascinating to see just how everything operates. Of course, easy things to point out like the vehicles, different machines, the fashion, the style, what people are doing. It's just very interesting, to say the least. Here we go. I've only seen a couple of these sort of videos for like random US cities. So seeing this for Australia is pretty cool. So for me, especially because this is different in a lot of ways. Looking east of Victoria Parade to Mount St. Evans Private Hospital, now St. Vincent's Private. So yeah, if anyone knows where this is, hopefully that helps you identify where we're at. Victoria Parade looking west. Look at that trolley. That's so cool. This is the 20s, and we have trolleys. It's just so cool to see what they don't have, and then, of course, what they do have, where you're like, whoa, they had this way back then. Okay. Granted, I know this isn't, like, Super HD. It looks really good, though, considering it's 100 years old. And I have to say, the roads look phenomenal. They have no markings on them, at least from what I can tell. But they look, like, amazingly smooth. This looked great, honestly. And we do have vehicles everywhere. So that's pretty interesting, seeing these old cars. Looks very clean, very, oh, look at that big truck. You saw that? How wild is that? Exhibition building from Spring Street near Parliament. And someone is riding, what is that, a bicycle? I don't know if it was a unicycle or a bicycle. Very cool. Victorian Parliament, Spring Street. Look at that. Elaborate building there. Yeah, so those trolleys must be electric. That's interesting to see. Hear that sound? Wow, we're getting a ride along in a 1920s car. Very cool. This is MacArthur Street, East Melbourne, heading into the CBD. Look at the trees. Of course, I think I saw some palm trees even back then. How wild. So clearly the place was decorated with nice vegetation. Look at how clean again. Look at the trolley lines here. It looked like cars were parked at an angle. Here they're parked parallel on the street like that. We also have a horse-drawn guy here. So you got a mix of both. And I know I'm pausing this a lot. That's the point. I'm really studying this, okay? Obviously, it's so interesting to see the 20s. You see this in the U.S. videos as well. Everyone was wearing a hat. Like, I think literally everyone. And everyone's dressed up. No graphic T-shirts and cargo shorts here. Everyone's wearing nice shoes, full suit, right? It's just wild to see how literally everybody was dressed up. Nice dresses, nice shoes for the ladies. Look at that big truck. Oh my God, this is so crazy to see. Motorcycle looked like as well. Look at that. I don't know if those are trucks or buses. That's clearly a truck used for some sort of work. Look at this. This is just wild. Oof, a little shaky, so watch yourself there. People kind of like just crossing the street wherever. We got a nice firm handshake going on there, closing a deal on something. No, I don't know. They're probably just greeting each other. But now we're on Mount Dandenong Tourist Road. So we're on a mountain road here. What is that? That is some sort of buggy or motorcycle deal. I don't know. We have a oh my God! Watch out for the dog. Jeez, man. He didn't really yield to the dog too well there. I think it got out of the way though. Yeah, beautiful hillside here. So this is a really nice area. Never thought we'd see a point of view drive cam here in a 20s car from the 20s. I think we got some coastal footage here. Cool looking trees right here. Wow. Tons of cars lined up. What's that say? Something, what does that say? Ballroom and cafe? I can't tell. I just can't read it. It's just too much blurry. Look at the little kid there. That is so interesting to see. Even the kid has a hat on. What's that kid dressed up like? Wow, it's just such a different time. Such a different time. I mean, look at this though. This looks impressive. I mean, honestly, if you're zoomed out like this, even if we're looking at these house structures here, I guess this is like, one of those rare screenshots in this particular scene where it doesn't really look that much different. And this is 100 years ago. I feel like because we're far enough away and people, aren't in their suits, of course, their nice clothes on the beach, it kind of is, it could fool you. Like, oh, this, could be almost compared to more of a modern picture, right? You wouldn't guess maybe that this was the 20s just from this exact screenshot, whereas some of the other ones you definitely would. So that's kind of interesting to see. Of course, great beaches in Australia. That's what I always hear, and every time I see it on video or pictures, it certainly looks like that's the case. Look at that. How wild is that? Some sort of park? Maybe sports field? I don't know. No, I think it's just a park. Really cool. Look at, I see a golf sign up there. Did they have mini golf back then? Or would this be like a driving range or a full-on golf course? I don't know. If you know these things, definitely let me know. Look at that awesome rugged coastline there. Of course, waves still sound the same back then, don't they? And we have some mountain ranges. Look at this. This looks like the Blue Mountains, although I'm not sure. I don't want to, misspeak here, but I think this screenshot shows it. It does. Okay, good. See, I know my mountains, even in Australia. I've come a long way. I know, I don't know them all, but I know a lot more, of course, than I used to before this channel about Australia. Beautiful, national parks and stuff. So, mountain ranges. Anywho, look at that. That is so cool, isn't it? Even back then. This guy takes his hat off. He's, I don't know if I'm assuming that's a cigarette, which of course back then was way more normal. I don't think it was looked down upon at all back then. And yeah, he's just having a smoke and enjoying the view. Look at that. Beautiful area. How beautiful is that? The Hawkesbury ? I don't know. Anyone want to confirm that? I really do. If you found this interesting, I encourage you to look at the link and click on the original video and watch the whole thing. This is so interesting. I'm going to look up a couple things because that's a fascinating trip through 1920s Australia. Okay, so this is interesting. I looked up what was the population of Australia in the 1920s. Don't mind the total typos there. At the 1921 census, Australia's population was 5.44 million. That's it. In the whole country, 5.44 million. That is absolutely wild because, of course, it's much bigger now, but, it's still only about 25 million, let's say. So I guess it has 5x'd itself in population over 100 years. Interesting. Roughly equivalent to Victoria's population in 2010. So, yeah, just the state of Victoria is that big now. And then, of course, Sydney was the biggest city now. And of course, in the 20s, Sydney was also the biggest city. And back then, it had 981,000 residents. So basically a million. So Sydney had a million residents even in the 20s. So it had a fifth of the whole country's population just in Sydney. And, a million people is obviously a big city. That is not small. So Sydney, even 100 years ago, was a very reputable, big powerhouse of a city in a relatively low population country. So very interesting to find that out. For many Australians, the 1920s heralded an exciting new world. The tragic legacies of the Great War and the Spanish flu pandemic were not perhaps so easy to forget, but innovation in art, aviation, and an Australian dream proved welcome distractions. Look at this cool photograph here. And these photographs remind me, look for episodes. I'm going to come out with another one very soon. Look for episodes of when I go through Reddit called Old School Cool, where we look at old photographs. And I have an Australia episode I did a few weeks ago, so make sure to check that out. Otherwise, I will be doing more in the near future because it was really cool, and you guys really liked it. This is something interesting because here in the U.S., of course, young Americans always learn about one of the craziest periods was the 20s here as well for a lot of different reasons. And one of the headlines of the 20s was, of course, prohibition, right? The sale of alcohol being illegal. Pretty crazy to think about compared to nowadays. And this came up on Google by itself. Was alcohol banned in the 1920s in Australia? Alcohol sales were prohibited in the Australian Capital Territory between 1910 and 1928. 4 referendums regarding the prohibition of alcohol were conducted in Western Australia, including one of each of these years, 1911, 1921, 1925, and 1950. So that's interesting. So basically, if I'm reading that right, Australian Capital Territory, ACT, prohibited alcohol sales, but it doesn't sound like it was the whole country. So anyone want to weigh in on that kind of deal in the 20s or just throughout history? Has there been a massive, nationwide prohibition of alcohol in any era similar to what we had around this time period in the U.S.? Go ahead and let me know. Something interesting to end the video here. How long did it take to get to Australia in the 1920s? Now, this is from a UK publication, so let's think, like London to somewhere in Australia. It says the first London to Darwin flight was in 1919, and the time taken to reach Australia from the UK went from 28 days, presumably by sea, which is a hell of a trek, to 17 hours. And honestly, it hasn't really gone up, or it hasn't gone faster since, right? 17 hours, we're talking 1919. If we fast forward 100 years to 2019, I don't know London to Darwin. Let me check. I'm pretty sure it'd be similar. How funny is this? When you look up London to Darwin flight time, this is for brand new. This is nowadays, man. Fancy, tech-infused 2023. 18 hours and 50 minutes plus. So there you go. Part of it is no airlines currently offer direct flights between the UK and Australia, or maybe to Darwin, perhaps. So, yeah, maybe that's part of it. Just kind of interesting, right? I just think that's wild. Hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did. These are always fascinating, traveling through time into an older era and just seeing it, soaking it in. It's just so bizarre in a good way. Throw a thumbs up on there if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to be part of this amazing community we do have here. And that being said, y'all, my name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker, and until next time, I'll catch you later.